Hi there. In this lecture we see Efim Korchmar against Rashid Nezhmetindinov. So this is in 1931, categories 1 and 2 tournaments. So d4 from Korchmar, we have d5, knight f3, knight f6, bishop g5. So a torre attack. So e3, bishop e7, bishop d3, Nezhmetdinov castles, knight bd2, c5, c3, b6, knight e5, bishop b7, f4. So white has transformed into a Dutch kind of stonewall attack, well, in reverse, or rather stonewall attack system. We see knight bd7, queen f3, and now knight takes e5, f takes, and this is a very good move, knight e4. We have bishop takes e7, which is an inaccuracy. For white to be able to claim an advantage, the bishop should go back. And for example, bishop h4 check here, bishop e7, white can claim a small edge in this kind of position. So you might wonder why bishop takes e7 is so bad. In contrast, after queen takes, that knight is no problem. The king's in the center here. And bear in mind, we have resources. So white castled queenside, which is actually a mistake. If white actually plays knight takes e4, d takes, bishop takes e4, yes. What do we play here for 10 points? Resources, queen h4 check. So that's the king in the center backfiring for these active operations. So this is actually a tricky position. If white castles kingside, weakness of the last move, we actually just take on d2. That would be terrible as well. So in fact, queen h5 is one of the better moves. It's a bit unusual to have to play a move like queen h5. There is also queen h3, but let's look at this. So this would pin the knight to h7. So the knight can't take on d2. It's kind of virtually pinned to h7. So let's say h6, bishop takes here, and then castling, it should be even. That's a way for white to play it. If g6, the queen could go to h6. If we look at this position, e takes, knight takes, queen g5. This should also end up with a situation that is manageable for white. At least it's even. Okay, so queen h5 was a move, and also queen h3 was a move as well, just leaving the knight on e4. But black has definitely equalized at least. So here, after bishop c4, it's just even. But white castles queenside. This is actually a very risky proposition here. We have f5. Rook d to f1 actually makes things worse again. Actually, the rook was on defensive duty on d2 here. If we look at e takes f6, rook takes queen h5 here, g6, queen h4. Yes, this is a situation after knight f2. Black is winning in exchange, so that's not too appetizing either. And also, the bishop's hit as well as the two rooks, so that's certainly not appetizing. So in this position, queen e2 actually seems maybe the best bet. It doesn't look too good though, rook ac8, because after king b1, black doesn't even have to play c takes here. Black could play c4, and the resulting position is in black's favor overall, but there's still a bit of game left. But this actually makes things significantly worse, this rook move. So rook a to c8, rook hg1, c takes d4, e takes d4, and now guess what Nezhmetdinov plays for 100 points, and why? Yeah, actually he plays knight takes c3, so we can see we're getting 2 pawns for the knight, but we're also getting a pin which should be factored in, because there are ways of torturing the pin. Can you see the 2 ways of putting more pressure on d3? if you had to evaluate this position, is perhaps that pin would be high up in the evaluation in black's favour because of queen a3 and bishop a6 rather, as resources. If the king had gone to d1, queen a3, king e2, guess what we could play here for 10 points? Yeah, actually we could call on rook takes d3 here and then bishop a6, pinning the queen. So king goes to b1 and we get a really sweet finish. Queen a3, knight b3. So here, bishop a6 now, rook d1, and there's a great pivot to the opponent's king here, which is really high pressure. Can you see what it is for 10 points? Black to play. Yeah, bishop c4. Look at this immense pressure. So white is in a huge amount of trouble here. Black's king is perfectly safe and white is threatened with all sorts of things. If bishop c2, we're just taking the queen. So white tries knight c1 and we get a sweet finish. For 10 points, what would you play here? Yeah, check all checks. Yeah, rook takes c1 check. Rook takes c1, queen takes a2 is checkmate. So I would say Nezhmetdinov games, they don't need to be officially awarded a brilliancy prize. It's good to know that for someone not so well known, he is in, his games are in a lot of collections, given how he's not like a world champion or anything. So I thought this was a sweet game. There's my own judgment as well. I think it's fairly a brilliant game, and it shows the range of mistakes as well. When we look at Nezhmetdinov games, we can see that in this particular game, the major mistake theme is white castling queenside, which made things worse. White actually was in a tricky position here already due to the earlier play. So you could say maybe the more root cause mistake, if we rewind back, was actually this situation, because in effect the queen was liberated to have access to h4, making in effect this Achilles heel of white's pawn structure a bit more sensitive. So if white had played bishop f4, white would still be with a small edge here, it seems. So it's interesting that white needed to entertain the knight on e4 there and not exchange off dark square bishops. And it wouldn't matter so much about knight takes d2, king takes. White's king would be relatively a lot safer in this kind of example. So anyway, very nice finish. This queen takes a2 checkmate. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks so much. All comments, questions, likes and subscribes really appreciated. Thanks so much.